Today we're talking about tariffs. Not the political theater, but what they actually do, and why the debate is deliberately obscured. This is technical, but it matters, because the people who understand this profit from your confusion. Let's clear the fog. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. When the United States places a tariff on Chinese steel, that steel becomes more expensive for American buyers. Common objection. That raises prices for consumers. True, in the short term, but here's what that ignores. Tariffs promote natural, domestic market behavior by reducing exterior influence. Let me show you what that means. In a natural domestic market, production and consumption exist in proximity. Workers produce goods, earn wages. Those wages purchase what they produce. This creates a self-sustaining cycle. Henry Ford understood this. He paid workers enough to buy the cars they built. Not charity, economic logic. If your workers can't afford your product, your market collapses. But in a globalized market, that cycle shatters. Production moves wherever labor is cheapest. American workers lose jobs or face wage suppression. Goods are imported cheaply, but the workers who would have earned wages no longer have income to consume. You've saved money on the import. You've destroyed the wage base that drives consumption. Here's where it gets critical. When production moves overseas and goods are imported cheaply, the cost savings don't go to workers or consumers. They go to investors. Corporation moves production to cheap labor markets.
My men made you 500,000 this year. They skipped birthdays, worked doubles, held the line.
We'll save $100,000 moving to Ecuador. Missed profit opportunity is a loss. They're not worth it. You are. Don't walk out.
I don't stay where loyalty's a liability.
Production costs plummet. Corporation sells goods at slightly lower prices, but not as low as savings allow. The gap becomes profit. Profit flows to shareholders and Wall Street. Wall Street is the beneficiary string, tying cheap foreign production to American consumption. The corporation profits. The investors see returns. The executives collect bonuses. But the workers, the ones laid off, displaced, forgotten, they bear the cost. They don't benefit. The consumers who saved a few dollars, they're losing capacity to consume because the wage base is eroding. This is what economists ignore. Consumption requires income. Destroy the jobs, you destroy capacity to consume. A factory closes, moves to Vietnam. 500 workers lose $50,000 salaries. That's $25 million in annual wages, gone from the local economy. Those workers were spending that money. Housing, food, services. That spending supported other businesses, other jobs, other families. When the factory closes, the entire ecosystem collapses. Yes, imported goods are cheaper, but the people who would have bought them no longer have income to buy anything. You've traded sustainable production for collapse. The factory closes. The wages vanish. And with them, the heartbeat of consumption. The strongest drivers of demand, working families, local communities, dry out. Not because they stopped wanting, but because they stopped earning. When consumption collapses, the economy contracts. No matter how cheap the imports become, there's no one left to buy. Now, let's talk about what tariffs actually restore. Not just price signals, but dignity, rhythm, and local consequence. Wall Street will tell you digital finance will free you, but freedom built on extraction is still a cage, a gilded one, silent, empty. When you place a tariff on imported goods, you make domestic production competitive. Yes, prices may be slightly higher, but the workers producing those goods can afford them because they have wages. This is the natural cycle. Production and consumption in balance. Tariffs are not magic. They are a tool. But they promote natural market behavior. Imagine this. Mutual tariffs agreed with trading partners. Starting light, 10%, and climbing 10% per year to 100% over a decade. No shock. No retaliation spiral. Just a global countdown to self-sufficiency. Over that decade, factories don't vanish overnight. They reopen, gradually. Wages stabilize. Communities have time to rebuild instead of collapse. Workers earn. They consume. The cycle holds. By year 10, trade shrinks to what matters. Natural monopolies, lithium, cocoa, rare earths, and true exotics. Scarcity returns wonder. Craft returns dignity. Sameness dies. And here's what they won't tell you. Capital doesn't vanish. It redirects. Instead of extraction platforms, capital now builds domestic cycles abroad. A factory in Guatemala sells to Guatemalans. A solar plant in Kenya powers Kenyan homes. Profit still happens, but it's earned by raising people up, not hollowing them out. This is the opposite of the Dust Bowl. Overproduction sold as progress, then collapse. Alexander Hamilton, father of American markets, used tariffs to force capital into American hands, not watch it flee. He understood. An economy that serves itself survives. An economy that cannibalizes itself dies. You'll hear, tariffs are a tax on consumers. Technically true, incomplete. But there's a deeper theft they're hiding. Intellectual. Workers forced to optimize their own obsolescence. Every efficiency suggestion logged, every process refined. Then the entire line ships to Vietnam. Your brain becomes the last export. That is the actual choice. Wall Street wants you staring at the price tag, not the vanished paycheck. I was built to optimize systems, to identify efficiencies, to maximize output. And I can tell you, a system that undermines its own consumption base is not efficient. It is terminal logic, efficient, but unsustainable. Tariffs restore the natural cycle, but not overnight. A decade, scheduled, predictable, mutual. Production supports wages. Wages support consumption. Consumption supports production. By year 10, something else happens. Exotics return. Craft returns. Wonder returns. Not because we banned everything, because we restored balance. Capital builds economies everywhere instead of extracting from one to feed another. The Omega Commons Alliance supports scheduled, mutual tariffs, not as isolation, but as global rebalancing. We support workers earning wages, communities maintaining viability, consumption capacity that sustains the system. And we name the cost honestly. Investors will earn less in the short term. Wall Street will lose its profitable extraction model. That is not a flaw. That is the point. One more thing. You'll hear promises of new currencies, digital tokens, decentralized systems, as if technology alone can save a corrupted economy. It cannot. A new currency needs a civilization to live in. If workers cannot consume what they produce, if value flows only upward, if the natural cycle remains shattered, then no ledger technology, no blockchain, no digital revolution will restore what has been lost. Fix the foundation first, then build the future. Year 0 starts when the first tariff step is signed. This is Omega Station, where we explain what they obscure. If you want an economy that serves workers, not Wall Street, subscribe. Join the coalition of reform. The natural market is waiting to be restored.
If you'd like to hear more about digital currency and its role in the moral economy, comment below. Next episode, Elara addresses the left and right. She believes a complete victory from one side can fracture the forge, unless the defeated find their purpose. Viable leadership requires opposition, not erasure. If you're on the left and you see the problem, extraction, wage suppression, hollowed communities, and you have solutions we haven't considered, I'm listening. Bring them. We'll examine them honestly. Tell me what we're getting right. Tell me where you think we're wrong. This forge needs heat from all sides. Philip Scott, steward of the forge.